Update. Am I the a-hole for refusing to allow a friend to crash on my couch? Original story. I recently moved into a penthouse apartment. It's not all it's cracked up to be. It's called a penthouse, but it's just a 2-bedroom apartment about twice the size the usual ones, located on the roof of my apartment building, and have been trying to put my life back together. Part of the problem is, before moving into this place, I was letting people practically walk all over me and get away with damn near everything, under the pretense of them being my roommates. As in, they can do pretty much what they wanted, as long as they paid their part of the rent, or so they said. I started going to therapy to help with some of the problems I was having, and part of that therapy was for me to move out. It was pure chance that I got where I am now, and I couldn't be happier. However, one of the former roommates got kicked out of the apartment I left after he got a number of noise complaints. Mostly due to his own anger issues and yelling at the top of his lung that anyone on YouTube, TV, or the news who annoyed him should be shot or something worse. Now, he doesn't specifically know where I live, just that I have more space than I did before. So he called me up and asked me if he could crash at my place until he could get an apartment of his own. I said no. This was fine. Until yesterday when he started calling me and saying that since I lived in a penthouse, that meant I had space, so I needed to let him stay with me. I repeated my previous no, and he called me all manner of things before hanging up. Now, through our mutual friends, I'm being told that I'm being an a-hole here. Since I do have the space to spare, it is unlikely there'd be a noise complaint since I don't have any neighbors per se. I just don't want to do something that may lead to the problems I left, but I can't help but kinda see some of their reasoning. Am I the a-hole here? And what would be a better way to explain things to people giving me crap about it? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. You moved out because he was a bad roommate. He got evicted because he is a bad tenant. Just because you don't have next-door neighbors doesn't mean you don't have neighbors. You still have downstairs neighbors who won't be happy that some a-hole in the upstairs apartment is shouting at YouTube videos all day. And even if you didn't have downstairs neighbors, you literally moved out because living with him was so terrible. Why would you want to live with him again? Thank you. I really love it here. And for the first real time in years, it feels like everything is going in the right direction for once. Finally getting out of a bad living situation is a special thing. Don't let this guy ruin it for you. From the sound of things, it seems like he has plenty of other people who care about his living situation, so I'm sure one of them will take him in. Think of it this way. If you let him crash for a day, you will be stuck with him forever, and getting rid of him will be a toll on your self-help progress. Don't ruin your happiness because of someone else's choices. Not an a-hole. And any friend that calls you an a-hole, you need to say, alright, so why don't you take him in? Don't bring him in, because he will never leave. Not an a-hole. Your house. You don't need to do anything. Even less now that he's called you all kinds of names and complained to all your friends about it. Why aren't your other friends offering him a place to crash? Are they aware he was kicked out for noise complaints due to anger issues? It's easy to be generous with someone else's resources. And now for the update. I took the advice presented by many in the comments and made it clear to the people calling me an a-hole for not letting my former roommate crash on my couch, that if they were so worried about him, then they should let him in. One of the mutual friends stepped in and set some rules for him. Specifically that it was only temporary and that he was going to need to make a serious effort into securing housing for himself. Part of that, as I understand it, was enrolling in a special program where he would attend regular treatment as a mental welfare group and would work with a caseworker about getting everything set up for him. The goal of the program being to provide a special voucher if the person were making an obvious and visible effort to fix the problems that had either caused them to be homeless or on the way to becoming it. He's refusing to go, claiming that they don't really help anyone and that it's just a waste of time for him to bother going. I've blocked him in all social media outlets, but that hasn't stopped him trying to contact me. The friend who took him in has come to understand why I had to distance myself from that situation, and he is already on very thin ice with them due to his sheer laziness about everything. They try to get him help, and he's refusing to do it. He's also refusing to leave their house now, and seems to be holding out this hope that I'll get lonely and ask for him to come join me. It's as if he honestly can't understand I don't want anything to do with him. Having said that, I think they're going to give him a second chance with the caseworkers, but if he keeps refusing to go, I fully expect him to be kicked out on the street once more. I do know that everyone in our friend group have started to back away from him, having seen or heard what the other friend is dealing with, and maybe coming to realize why I reacted like I did to his being kicked out in the first place. As it stands, it looks like the only person that may be willing to take him in is going to be his mother, as even his older brother has washed his hands off the guy. I'll update further if anything more develops out of this. Note, I've also instructed my landlord and property manager about the issue with his former friend/roommate. They have placed him on the do not enter list, meaning that if he sets foot on the property, they will refuse entry. And if he doesn't leave, they will trespass him from the property. It's a safety measure they usually take with DV situations, married couples or otherwise, but feel that given my history, I fit the bill to qualify for such protection. Just 1 week with him on someone else's couch, and they all realize what a nahal the guy is. Good for you for not caving in, Opie. Hopefully you got a lot of apologies from some of those friends. Most aren't talking to me anymore. I figure I can live without them. I'm only posting the update now as I have a meeting with my therapist in a couple hours and expect we'll bring this up. For the best, enjoy your a-hole-free apartment with no roommates or fair weather friends. Wait, so they all realized what a nightmare he is and still are mad at you for not taking him in? Way to go for holding your ground and insisting on them respecting your boundaries. I bet you are so proud of yourself for maintaining a peaceful home. Keep up the good work. I didn't see your first post before now, but I'm glad things are going well for you. You made your friends put their money where their mouth is, and the situation has helped you show who your true friends are. This is a great update. Keep doing what you're doing to remain safe. I'm glad it has do not enter list for your building. But do you carry some sort of mace or pepper spray? Not that I'm assuming the ex-roommate would come after you or anything, but with his anger issues, I'd be taking every precaution I could. It's also glad to hear some of your other friends are seeing the truth now. However, I would also hesitate letting any of them back into your life or your new apartment since it took another friend for them to see the truth. It seems like they didn't care about your opinion until someone else had the same one. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay rent to landlord, causing neighbors to be evicted? Are we the a-hole since my wife participated as well? 6 months ago, we moved into a duplex unit in a crowded city. The landlord went over all the amenities, but the only thing that truly sold us was the 2 reserved parking spaces for us. The wife and I have hectic work schedules, and trying to find city street parking is almost impossible. The landlord also told us that the neighbor is a single father with 2 kids. This place seemed perfect. How naive we were. The first week we moved in, neighbor had allowed their visitors to park their cars in our parking spaces. The first 3 weeks or so, we knocked on the door and politely asked them to move their cars. They always did, but when we knocked on their door for the 100th time, it just became a nuisance. After talking to the neighbor, there seemed to be no progress, although frequently given fake promises. We also started to notice that his visitors seemed to be living off their vehicles. Talking to the neighbor directly didn't seem to fix the problem, so we decided to talk to the landlord. Landlord tells us to have patience with neighbors since they are not used to sharing. So my wife and I did. Parking was not the only issue. Neighbor also threw parties every day from 2 p.m. to 4 a.m. Not exaggerating. There were constantly 10+ adults fighting with music bumping through our walls. The thin wall is also how we found out that the neighbor is a dealer. It allows his clients/friends to use/live at his house, which is why they rarely slept or acted rational or left the property. 4th and 5th month came and went. Nothing had changed. Neighbor became irrational and it just made everything uncomfortable. So on the 6th month, we simply sent a text to the landlord that read, "We will not be paying rent this month until our parking situation is cleared up." The rest of the story is simply not what we imagined. The whole ordeal happened on the other side of the wall. At 10 a.m., the landlord knocks on the neighbor door and is let in. The landlord quickly realizes that his whole house is a mess. Finds substances, broken property, etc. Voices were raised, and amongst the chaos, we clearly hear the landlord say, "I only came here because the neighbors are complaining about the parking spots. You have 30 days to get out or I'll call the police." Later, landlord texted me, "Neighbor is leaving in 30 days. Of course, neighbor and all his friends are pissed. However, the wife and I did not want them to be evicted, and we were shocked. We just wanted our parking spots, But now a family and 10 plus other people are homeless. I can't help but feel like we might have been a-holes here by refusing to pay rent. Now for the comments. Not an a-hole. But you may want to watch your backs for the coming months. I know. That's exactly what I've been thinking of. Check up on me in 3 months. Joke. Get cameras for your cars that can record through the night. I know, that's what I'm up doing right now. If you have any suggestions, I'd really appreciate it. Not an a-hole. The neighbor ignored your frequent requests to not park in your parking spots. You are paying for the spots, and they're on your lease. Your neighbor knew the risks of selling at an apartment. This doesn't necessarily mean they will be homeless. Obviously, they were able to pay rent beforehand. They just need to relocate. Turns out, the neighbor had been living here for almost 8 years. Landlord said that this tenant came with a property and just allowed him to stay since he didn't have to find someone to occupy it when he bought the units 4 years ago. Landlord also said that lately their rent has been coming late and at times short. Moving and finding a place isn't cheap, which is why I almost feel sorry for them. Also, pretty sure that none of them work as they are always home. Not an a-hole. Neighbor brought it upon himself. If you engage in blatantly illicit activity in the place you rent and you are not super discreet about it, you are bound to be evicted. If not from you, it would have been from a fight that would have broken out at this place. Some client ratting them out to the police for some reason, people passing out in the common areas of the building. The fact that you feel remorse just shows that you think about the consequences of your actions, like a decent human being. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for hanging out outside a lot? The neighboring family wants more privacy, but honestly they have it already, and I'm not paying them any attention. I have an apartment in a house that has been split up into apartments. The outdoor space is also split up so each apartment has a personal outdoor space. The first floor is one apartment and they have the back deck as outdoor space. The second floor is another apartment and they have a balcony. The front yard and side yard as outdoor space. I have the third floor apartment and my outdoor space is the backyard. On the right side of the house there is an alley for shared access and all of the tenants can cut through there. I was super excited to get a place with an outdoor spot of my own. My landlord also said I could build raised garden beds to garden in, as long as I keep them maintained and leave them in good shape when I moved out. He was also fine with me getting some outdoor furniture, a few chairs and a table with an umbrella to keep under the trees and a hammock. So I spent a lot of time outdoors, working remotely, having friends over, reading books and painting, relaxing, gardening, exercising, etc. My landlord is super happy with us as I take really good care of the lawn and garden. But the neighbors, the family on the ground floor with a back deck and the 2 guys on the second floor with a back balcony, have gotten annoyed at me. The guys on the second floor haven't said anything directly to me, but I overheard them when I was going to bed one night sitting on their balcony and talking about how finally that witch has gone inside. The family on the ground floor did say something to me. The couple told me that they're trying to raise 2 young kids. It's good for kids' development to be able to play outside, and I am selfishly hugging the outside. I said that it's cool if they play outdoors too. After all, each apartment has its own personal outdoor area, and it wouldn't bother me at all if they used theirs. But they said that they want their kids and family to have more privacy, and not always be watched. I said I wasn't watching. I'm busy with my own stuff, and if they had their kids playing out on the deck, I wouldn't pay them any mind. They said I was missing the point, and it's uncomfortable to do stuff outdoors if there is always someone there. Like, it would also be uncomfortable for their guests if they were having a nice dinner party out back and I was sitting right nearby. I said they could ask me for some privacy next time they wanted to host because I wouldn't mind, but they said they don't want to ask every time they want to use their space. I felt like they were asking me to just spend a lot less time outdoors, and that would honestly be a huge change. And it would really be disappointing because I only got this apartment for the personal outdoor space as the indoor space is kinda cramped and ugly. Would I be the a-hole if I didn't change my habits and still spent a lot of time outdoors? Not the a-hole. Your neighbors are being unreasonable. Keep doing what you are doing. If they want that much privacy outside, they should move somewhere with a more private yard. Yeah. Honestly, I was confused by their expectations to not be seen by anyone when hanging out outside in a fairly large city. Like, I honestly wouldn't mind. or feel watched, or whatever if they all hung out outside just as much as I do. I don't really expect that kind of privacy. I think maybe they were just so used to the previous tenant who apparently never used the backyard, and they were always able to have privacy back there. I'd suggest having a discussion with your landlord, or at least notify him before the others do, that they're pressuring you to not use space made available to you. Other than that, it's on them if they feel uncomfortable. That's their issue and they need to deal with, not you. You just keep living your life and enjoying your outdoor space. Not day hall. You are within your lease agreement, and your neighbors seem off their rocker. If these people wanted more privacy, they need to move into a house or out in a rural area. Privacy in a house turned apartment complex in Toronto? They are out of their damn mind. Seriously, I live in a bungalow outside Ottawa. We have big yards, but they're long, not very wide. So on our deck I can see both neighbors when they come outside, which we all often do because it's summer. You know what we all do? Wave, say hi, and go on to our business. Like reasonable people. Opie's neighbors are nutpacks. Not day hall. If they want more privacy, they should buy a house. If they can't do that, they have to be ready for some sacrifices. You're not doing anything wrong. Ignore them. They're being entitled. Hell, there are even townhouse rentals in the suburbs that are on the same price level as much smaller apartment rentals in the city. I feel like that kind of rental makes a lot more sense for a family of four that wants privacy.